You walk into a room and suddenly doubt your right to be there. Like that moment when you tap your worn-out office ID badge with the faded photo, wondering if anyone else feels the same shadow. What is imposter syndrome, and why does it make you feel like a fraud despite your success? Maybe you've nailed a presentation, but still wonder if it was luck. The quiet voice that says, "You don't belong." Why won't it go away? The question you'll carry after this isn't just why it shows up, but what happens next when you face it in your own mind. Naming the unseen. Have you ever sat in a meeting when your name comes up for praise? The room's quiet, except for the soft clink of coffee cups. You hear the words meant to lift you. Yet inside, a whisper curls tight. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe they picked the wrong person. Your fingers graze the edge of your worn-out office ID badge. The photo's faded, almost like the confidence you're supposed to carry. You stay still, watching faces nod, but the voice won't quite leave. It says, "I don't belong here." That moment, it's the kind that used to be invisible, just a shadow tugging at your gut. Until one day, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes gave it a name: imposter phenomenon. Later, Harvey designed a scale to measure it, a way to give shape to that sneaky doubt, stealing credit for your own work. Naming it didn't fix the feeling overnight, but it changed the game. You could spot it, call it out. But what if naming it was only the start? What if the real question lies in why it lingers, no matter the proof you're not a fraud? Measuring self-doubt. But imagine sitting at your kitchen table late at night with a paper questionnaire in front of you. The paper feels thin, the corners curled from a week in your back. One question asks how often you fear being found out, like a secret slipping through cracks. You pause. Your pen hovers over the line between sometimes and often. You think about that moment in the conference room when your voice cracked, or the time you laughed off a compliment but wished you hadn't. Each answer peels away a layer of quiet anxiety you usually keep tucked deep. It's awkward to admit, even to yourself, because here in these boxes and circles, your fear gets some shape. Psychologists like Collegian and Sternberg tried to capture this with their perceived fraudulence scale. And then there's Leary's imposter scale, which hones in on that nagging feeling of being a fraud. The imposter phenomenon assessment, developed more recently, breaks it down into doubts about achievement, discounting success, and self-sabotaging habits. But still, the numbers don't catch the full weight of it. They don't touch the cold buzz in your chest when an email pings unexpectedly, or the way your mind races the night before a presentation. The questionnaire can't hold the way your hands tremble just before you log into a call. Not all the time. And maybe that's the catch. Self-doubt hides in the spaces between the questions. It slips past the neat lines and scales. So, what happens when the numbers fail? When you realize your fears aren't just statistics to check off? That's where the real trap waits. And it's quieter than you expect. Quiet enough to sneak up without warning. What if the real weight isn't in the doubt itself, but in how you meet it? That's the question only a few answers can touch. Perfectionism's quiet trap. You sit there, eyes fixed on the screen. The cursor blinks, steady, like a slow heartbeat in a quiet room. The email feels ready. Or maybe not. You swap one word, then another, then you erase the whole sentence and start fresh. The soft glow from your phone leaks under the door. You pause before hitting send. Because it never feels good enough. Perfectionism wraps around doubt so tight, it's hard to breathe. Imagine if every message had to be flawless. Every move, perfect. That's what feeds the quiet voice telling you you don't belong. Years ago, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes noticed this in their therapeutic group sessions. They saw how sharing those feelings with others who lived it helped to loosen the grip. You rewrite, polish, but don't cross the line. Like a worn-out office badge, your image blurs and fades. The more you try, the more stuck you get. You chase a shadow that slips just out of reach. But what if the lock isn't on the door outside? What if it's on your own hand, holding the key? And that's when the silence gets louder. Waiting for the words you've been too scared to say yourself. Breaking the silence together. Think about sitting in a circle. The room is quiet, except for the soft scrape of folding chairs. You hear someone else say it out loud. That same gnawing fear you've been carrying alone. It sounds less like a confession and more like a secret handshake. The air shifts. Your own doubt feels smaller, less sharp. Every voice around you cracks open a crack in the wall you built in your mind. That worn-out office ID badge you clutch feels a little less like a mask now, and more like proof you belong in this room. Connection starts to chip away at the silent shame. Just hearing others admit the same secret makes your own feel less like a flaw and more like a shared struggle. This is what group therapy showed back in the late 1970s. Suddenly, you're not an island, but there's a piece of this that still hangs in the air. The part I'm holding back until the close. No diagnosis. Still real. Now, say you sit in a quiet room, your voice low, telling a therapist how you feel like a fraud. You name the thoughts, the sneaking doubt that shadows every step. But then, there's a pause. No box to check, no label to hold on to, just the weight of words left unspoken. You watch the clock's second-hand tick, its soft click filling the silence. You hope this conversation will untangle the knot inside, but instead, a new knot tightens. You wonder why a feeling shared by so many, some say up to 82%, doesn't get a name in the official manuals. No diagnosis means no neat explanation. It means your struggle floats in between the pages of textbooks and clinical guides. That gap can feel like a room with the lights off. You're not alone. Still, the quiet can make it feel like you are. Picture this. That worn-out office ID badge in your drawer. The photo faded, the edges bent. It's proof you were given a place, a role. But you look at it and feel like a stranger. Not because no one sees you, but because no one has told you that what you're feeling counts. That what's pressing on your chest matters, even if it's not in the handbook. The absence of a label can feel like being overlooked in a crowded room. Everyone there knows, but nobody talks about it. And now, as you lean back in that chair, you realize the silence might be part of the problem. Back in 2019, a systematic review looked at all the studies on imposter syndrome treatment. 62 in total. None had enough evidence to say what really works. No clear path out. What if there's a different way to hold this feeling? Something that doesn't need a stamp of approval from a book. Something that lets you breathe, even when the doubt is loud. That's where this takes you next. A new way to see it. You're at the coffee shop. Your phone lights up in the dim morning. It shows a list of questions. Not just about doubt, but how it sneaks in. Like when you choose to stay quiet in a meeting, or when you check an email one more time before sending. One question asks, how often do you hold back because you think you'll mess up? Another says, when do you push yourself harder? Not because you want to, but because you fear being found out. Your thumb taps the screen. Each answer pulls back a curtain. It shows the gap between how you see yourself and what others expect. This isn't just about feeling unsure. It's about how that feeling shapes what you do. That old office ID badge clipped to your lanyard, faded photo, worn edges. It's there while you wonder, do I really belong here? This new way of looking doesn't erase that question. Instead, it helps you spot when you let it steer your choices. But if you start to see these imposter feelings as a pattern, how do you change what happens next? Reclaiming your story. But imagine you're holding your phone, thumb hovering over the message you never send. It's a request to your boss, a simple ask for a raise. You rehearse the words in your head. They don't feel right. Like you're pretending to deserve it. Like you're about to get caught, so you put the phone down. Again. Maybe you think back to last week when a friend said, "You're amazing at this," and you shrugged it off, brushed it away like it was a mistake. Because deep down, that voice inside still whispers, "You're not enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough." You avoid their praise. You pull back from the people who might see through you. It's not just a thought. It's the way you move through your day, the silent weight in the air when you sit down at your desk or reach for the phone. That worn-out office ID badge with the faded photo, it's a reminder you never chose to carry, but somehow it sticks. The voice that doubts you. Sometimes it feels like it's always there, in the quiet moments when you're alone with your work or your thoughts. Knowing where it comes from doesn't erase the doubt, but it does open a crack, a chance to live differently with it, to write a new story, even if the voice still talks. What if you could listen for something else beneath it, something waiting to be heard? You walk into a room and suddenly doubt you're right to be there. That feeling, that gnawing fear you're just fooling everyone, has a name. Imposter syndrome is a quiet trick of the mind. It makes you ignore the evidence of your success, and instead, fixate on the chances you fooled your way in. It's not about the badge you wear or the titles you've earned. It's about the voice inside that whispers you don't belong. Maybe that voice softens over time. Maybe it never quite fades. But your right to be here doesn't vanish with it. The doubt will come. And when it does, don't turn away. Look it in the eye. Then step forward anyway. If you want, stay with that feeling a while.